Rolling.
Okay.
Yeah. Get it. Get it, girl.
Welcome to Gray Roots Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alecia Warneke, and I am here with Kari Oakley-Miller and Kathy Eggers. And today
Yeah.
we're unwrapping, get this, we're unwrapping the topic of holiday traditions. See what I did there? Unwrapping.
Yeah, you're good.
Holiday.
Unwrapping.
Yeah.
Job, girl.
Okay. So here's the deal. Why are these important? Everybody loves traditions. I think for me and a lot of people, the biggest reason that these are so important is because they create memories and they build relationships. Two things that you can take with you forever. Stuff that does not get eaten away by moths and rust and blah, blah, blah. Floodwaters and fires, all the things that happened in my house when I was raising kids. So anyway, I would love for you guys to share some of your favorite holiday traditions that y'all remember growing up. Kathy, what are some of those for you?
One of my favorites was that we would get our pajamas on with some hot cocoa. I think we had mugs because there were no to-go mugs. I think we literally took our little coffee mugs with us in the car and we'd go look at Christmas lights. And I just loved that every year driving around looking at Christmas lights in neighborhoods. That was one of the most exciting things. But then my favorite tradition of all times is the Christmas box. Have I told y'all about the Christmas box?
You have not. Tell us about the Christmas box.
Okay, real quick, the Christmas box. So my dad was one of 11, very poor. So for Christmas, all he would get is a shoebox that my grandmother would use old wrapping paper. She would wrap the shoebox, one for each child. And in that shoebox, that would be their entire Christmas. It would be like some fruit, some nuts, a little bit of candy, and then maybe something they needed, like a new pair of underwear or socks, and some type of toy. But that literally, here was their box. This was their Christmas. And that's all they got. And so my parents decided to carry on the tradition, but they moved it more into like a stocking. It became, instead of a stocking, we would do the Christmas box and my mom would wrap the boxes and it would kind of be that same thing. We always had fruit and nuts and something we needed. And then a few things we wanted that she would collect throughout the year. It was nothing really big. It was always just little stuff that made her think of us. Well, the most beautiful thing about the Christmas box, I know it's when we were little, is that we now do that with our children. And my brother does it with his children. My sister does it with her children. And some of my grown children are starting to do it. So, it's my favorite. The Christmas box was my favorite as a child.
I love that. And we are actually going to, you like set us up perfectly. We are going to talk about how that carries through with the generations in just a little bit. Kari, what were some of your favorite holiday traditions growing up?
Not anything like that, but two things that come to mind. So I did not grow up in a Christian home. We didn't grow up going to church. But my mom has a Catholic background. And so for Christmas and Easter, well, Christmas time, we would all pile in the car and we drive to downtown Denver and go to this beautiful Episcopal church. Just as a kid, when I walked in the door, it was just so rustic. And we'd sit down and then the boy choir would sing these just really reverent, beautiful songs. And I remember being moved as a child by just the music and the spirit and loved that. And we did that every year. And then, so I also grew up in a broken home. And when I go back and forth between my dad's house, my mom's house, my dad would give me, and I looked forward to it every time, it was a book, but it was the Lifesaver book. Had the different roles of lifesavers in it.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
thinking like, he doesn't forget the Lifesaver book, because I think that was so grounding to me, having to go back and forth to two homes, just like in expecting and knowing that that's coming. There was something so grounding about that simple little book of Lifesavers that was consistent, all the chaos.
I
love that.
Those two things come to mind.
That. Yeah. And I love when I hear about traditions that are kind of out of the box, like they're not your norm, right? Like lots of people traditions, putting up a tree, sending holiday cards, making the Christmas cookies, the must watch Christmas shows or movies. You know, for us, it was, what was the one with the leg lamp and the
Christmas
guys know
Story.
what I'm talking about. Bumpus's dogs. Yes, the Christmas Story. That was one once the boys got older, you know, Christmas Eve, Christmas dinner, you know, all the things. But I love when I hear unique things that not everybody does, because I think those are the things that really get kind of passed down through the generations. And Kathy, I think your Christmas box is a perfect example of that, of how it's just being carried down and is really helping to bridge the generations. So obviously that is a tradition that you have kept, that your dad had, you guys had as kids, and now your children are doing that for your grands. Kari, what are some traditions that you had when you were a kid that you have kept and carried down?
I was thinking about that. Besides, making the traditional peanut butter balls and just the things that my mom made, she would make the same cookies every year. And that's something that I do. And my kids look forward to that. Even Andrew is asking for that. When can we make
I
peanut
love
butter
that.
balls? When's too early? And so I think
I love that.
Never.
cookies, yeah. And I don't make them any other time of year. So I think the way that my mom was consistent in making cookies and what she made for food as far as that time. So those cookies are the thing I think that still doing one of the things that the kids ask for.
Will you give us the recipe and we'll put it up with the show
Absolutely.
notes
Ooh,
so that we
yes.
can, because I think that would be so good. If you remember, ladies, how I did a cookie swap for so many years. I think for
I
20
remember that.
years,
You did.
I hosted a cookie swap. And to this day, those are some of my favorite recipes that I cook, are cookies that we shared and recipes we shared at that cookie swaps. We'll share that recipe. I am
Great
similar.
idea.
I make peanut butter fudge, and my kids, like Thanksgiving, they want peanut butter fudge because it's not peanut butter fudge, it's peanut butter bark. Sorry, it's peanut butter bark. And it's so easy to make, but they love it and it means Christmas to them. But like Thanksgiving, they're like, did you make it? Did you make it already?
That
So
is so
I love
funny.
that.
Yeah.
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 What about you, Alecia?
So some of my favorite traditions growing up as a kid, I also came from a broken home. So I had like usually Christmas a little bit early with my mom and her family. And then I got on a plane to go see my dad. And then I would have Christmas there with my dad. And I think maybe they swapped off who got Christmas Day or Eve, or I don't know. I always had to get on a plane to go see him. So as a kid, I don't really remember any of that. So if you are a single parent and you're thinking, oh my gosh, my kids aren't having Christmas Eve with me or Christmas Day, maybe your kids are a lot more astute to this than I was. But I don't remember which day I spent with who. I just remember how the time was spent. So
Like,
there's a little nugget for all you mamas out there struggling in a single parent household with Christmas. My grandma used to make my dad's mom, they were Czech, and so they used to make kolachkis. And it's basically kind of like this little doughy Danish, but Christmas was the only time that she made kolachkis. And same thing, I was the only granddaughter out of two grandchildren. And so she and I used to get in there. She had two boys also. So I think I was kind of like, oh my gosh, a girl, yay. So I do remember having, making those kolachki cookies with my grandma. I remember we would decorate the tree on the day after Thanksgiving. So that was kind of our thing. We had Thanksgiving, and then the next day I would decorate the tree with my mom. We would write out all our Christmas cards. She would get me extra little cards to, do to my friends and stuff like that. Yeah. And so like as a kid, those are the things that I remember. And of course, the tree, presents, that sort of thing. One of the questions I had was like, so as everybody comes from different backgrounds. And I think as women, we kind of want to carry on traditions that are near and dear to us. The other thing that happened, and it may have only happened once or twice, but my dad took me to go see the Nutcracker Ballet as a little girl. I just thought that was amazing. I remember the dresses and the dancing, and it just was amazing to me. I thought that was so cool. Now, I had three boys. So the next thing, how I tried to carry that on, is I would take each of the boys at Christmas time and I would take them out on a date. And then we would start like around 3 or 4, and we would go see the Nutcracker until they were like, Mom, we don't want to go see this anymore. Right. But it was great. Like, Jeff taught him, hey, you open the door for a lady, you pull her chair out, here's how the silverware goes. And we would usually go somewhere that wasn't McDonald's, that they had to use silverware to eat their food. And so that was kind of a fun memory for me growing up. or not growing up, and then also with my boys that I kind of continued that on. Now, all three of my children will tell you they hate the Nutcracker. They don't ever want to see another Nutcracker again. So now I have this granddaughter, and I'm like, Andrew, are you going to take her to see the Nutcracker? And he's like, do I have to? I'm like, you don't. I could take her. And he's like, that would be fabulous. At least you want to go see the Nutcracker with Gigi. And he's like, got out of that one, right? But now I get to take her. And it's so fun for me to be able to kind of share that with her. And same thing. I let her get, we go shopping for a dress. She picks it out. She gets all dressed up, all the things. Gets a little Nutcracker to carry in with her. So we've done that for 2 years in a row. We'll see if she wants to go again this year or not. But yeah, that was one of my favorites. So I grew up very different than my husband's family did with Christmas traditions. And I'm sure that's a very common thing. What kind of bumps did you guys run into with trying to merge the traditions of the two families? Did they merge? Were you like, no, we're just doing my stuff. Your stuff is stupid. How did you guys manage that? Or maybe it wasn't an issue.
It wasn't an issue for us. I mean, we made a lot of our own. Really, the only two that we carried from my childhood was the box and Christmas pajamas. We did Christmas pajamas as kids, and so I carry that on with my kids, is that we did Christmas pajamas. There wasn't really anything else that was carried on from either side.
What about you, Kari?
Kurt's mom did the pajamas, and she even made Taylor pajamas when the first year we came here, and she made the kids pajamas year after year after year. And then even when stepkids came in, when Charles and Andrew came in, she for 1 year made them pajamas as well. And after that, she's like, I can't do that anymore. I'm not a sewer. I don't sew. And I was like, I'm uncomfortable in pajamas for these girls. Like, sizes, I don't know. To me, that's just not, it's kind of risky a little bit. So I have not carried that tradition on, but I like the robe idea. I think, Kathy, you mentioned, when we were talking yesterday, getting them robes. I like that idea.
Yeah.
So that might be a way that I can carry that on with my adult kids and in-laws. But then with the grandkids, we already have their pajamas. I've already bought them pajamas. So they're going to be easy to buy for. I think I can do that for the grandkids. For the adult kids, I like the idea of the robe.
I do. Yeah. I like that too. We also used to do the Christmas pajamas, and they had one. We would go to church on Christmas Eve, and then we'd go out to dinner somewhere. We'd come back home, and they had one present under the tree. And it took them a while to figure it out, but the present, well, guess what it was? It's your Christmas pajamas. So we can take pictures Christmas morning. And they're like, wait, but where's all the other stuff? I'm like, I don't know. Santa, I don't know where it is. It's gone. It's gone. So yeah, that was kind of a funny thing. Did you guys, other than the traditions that you carried on, did you start any new traditions? And what about when you started with blended families? Like, can we talk a little bit about that, Kathy? How did that intersect with what you were doing?
Yeah, we did start new traditions. I mean, for us, getting the tree was always a big night. We always made homemade cookies the day we decorated the tree, and we watched Elf. That was always our big tradition that we did for our kids, and they love that. Now, with the blended family, Jeff's family does a big Christmas Eve dinner. And so we have probably started doing more on Christmas Eve as far as a meal. But again, I realized at first when we first got married, I wanted it to be like the Brady Bunch. Everybody come together for Christmas. We start these new traditions together. And no one was really interested in that. I mean, again, combined, you've got a lot of people. You could easily have 20 plus people. And so, you know what? We've just realized you don't have to do that. You don't have to have all of them together or a tradition that every single child is involved in. It is okay to still do Christmas pajamas with the kids who are at home, but not do Christmas pajamas with, like, for the first few years, I did them for everybody. I mean, all the grandkids, all the step kids, their partners. And then I'm like, okay, number one, that's like $2,000 for Christmas for doing this for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I was like, so they don't care. Like they're not attached to these Christmas pajamas like I'm attached to these, or
Mm.
the Lee kids are. So I've just learned to say, okay, we don't have to have the same traditions across the board. It's okay. I don't know about you, Carrie. What about you guys?
Yeah, so definitely not the fairy tale story that we kind of want to paint here. Really tricky and really hard. And similar to you in the beginning was like, yes, let's just get everybody together and then everybody's, together. It's Christmas time. We're supposed to be doing this, this, and this. Well, the Miller family had their traditions. They wanted to watch the parade. The girls are different. They like the music and all of that. And I had boys and Carly, and we just didn't. It was everybody was kind of doing their separate thing, even though we were in the same
Mhm.
house, and it was just weird. It was so weird. Everybody was uncomfortable, and so I think we learned, just like you did, that it doesn't have to be this way. It's okay
Right,
to be
right.
Mhm.
different and think outside of the box. And what does everybody need in this time? So we had to start just saying, okay, this chunk of time, giving it to Carly on Christmas Eve now. He's taking it. They're going to her, going to her house. We're having Christmas Eve at her house. But that also means Andy and I don't spend Christmas Eve together. It's
Mm.
just something it's so complicated. Blended families are so incredibly complicated all around.
Yeah.
Even though, maybe the kids are having their Christmas Eve together, it's still, he and I aren't together and we're married. That's
Yeah.
just what we got to do.
Is that hard for
Yeah,
you?
but
Carrie, is that hard for
Weird.
you?
It's been me and my kids for so long, but then, I'm married now. So it shouldn't be me and just
Yeah.
family. I have a spouse now. It is. It's really strange way
yeah.
to
Kathy,
navigate.
what
But
were you gonna add?
Oh, I was
Whatever.
gonna just jump in and say two things. Number one, we do something similar, like with my Eggers boys and their partners. We go out to dinner with them because we just try to have some special time with just them. So we go out to dinner with them, and that seems to work. Where the Lee kids all want to come to the house and be together. So you do what works. But I was going to say we did start a new tradition when Joshua died. After Joshua died, Christmas Day wasn't the same because Christmas Day at our house, you guys, it looked like this. You got your gifts in your box, and I'm telling you, the box. I can't tell you enough how great this box is. I'm going to put pictures up. It's everyone's favorite. So kids would sit around in their PJs all day eating from their box. They're eating Slim Jims and we have to put certain things in them. I mean, all the crappy food, Reese's and everything, chips and soda, and they're having it at 7 in the morning in their PJs. No one gets stressed all day. They're in their PJs all day. But once Joshua died, it all shifted. We couldn't look at Christmas the same because he wasn't there. And that kid lived in his PJs. I mean, he would go to Walmart. He'd be the person at Walmart in his PJs. So when he died almost 5 years ago, we started doing hibachi on Christmas Day. I don't know why hibachi, but somebody said, let's go have hibachi on Christmas Day. And so for the last 4 years, that's what we've done. We've all gotten together and gotten dressed and we go have hibachi. And you know what? It's kind of been beautiful. So it is okay to change traditions or start new traditions, and as things change. You don't have to do it the same way every year.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that is, as we become older and our children choose partners and we have grandchildren, that's the name of the game, is change, right? All of
Right.
our traditions
Yeah.
are changing because our family is changing, and they're growing up and moving out and wanting to create their own traditions and things that have, that maybe our daughter-in-laws have grown up with, saying like, well, we used to do this on Christmas and I want to do that with my kids. And
Yeah.
I think as mother-in-laws, it's important for us to recognize that we were once that daughter-in-law that wanted to create those traditions for our own family. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do that is back to the beginning. We want to create memories and we want to build relationships. Think a lot of times, at least I've heard from a lot of my younger mom friends, is that can be a real problem because mother-in-law expects you to be at her house for Christmas Eve or Christmas dinner. I've run into some that are like, no, like my mom, we come from a big family. You have to be there Christmas Eve and you have to be there Christmas Day. I'm like, well, when do you spend time with your husband's family? Like, is his mom not, kind of a little upset about that? I mean, you kind of feel like you're in this tug of war of I have to spend time with his family and her family. I think as a young mom, we didn't have that as much because when we moved to Atlanta, all our family was back in St. Louis and we're like, we're not going back. So if anybody wants to come visit us for Christmas and join in with our traditions, great. But definitely when we were in the military and we would come back for Christmas time, it was a struggle. Like, okay, well, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do? And trying to kind of blend the families. What wisdom can you guys speak to either the mother-in-laws or the daughters-in-law about how to manage that in a healthy way?
So
I think
when you
that's
were
a
just
real
talking,
sticky mess
it
sometimes.
reminded me of, kind of what I said about the lifesavers and what that did for me as a kid is it brought security. And then I think sometimes traditions can do that for us. Like life can be crazy, but then at least we can grow to expect that this is going to happen on Christmas. So, at least I know, okay, I'm grounded here. And as simple as the same cookies. As we go through that and then we become mother-in-laws, I think we can still kind of hold on to that. Like
I
that's
think so
maybe where
too,
the
for sure.
tension is that we feel more grounded. At least if all my kids are here at least once a year, I know everything's going to be okay. So to recognize that's our motivation really is just it brings us some grounding in our own lives to have those similar traditions and things that we can count on. Recognizing that and feeling that and really kind of grieving that and knowing that
Yes.
this may not be the place where we get to do that anymore and to letting go of those expectations. So
Yeah.
just recognizing that.
Kathy, what are some of the ways that you think these young mamas the mothers-in-law can respect the traditions of their daughter-in-laws?
Well, I mean, join in if they're invited. I mean, if it's something they want to go look at Christmas lights and they invite you to come along, don't be a party pooper and go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I normally am baking cookies on this day." You don't again, not
Yeah.
about you. It's about the together. It's about the relationship. So if you're invited, super, join in. If you're not invited,
If you're not
again,
invited,
not
stay
about
home.
you. Listen, we're so freaking sensitive. I'm so sensitive. I mean, I'm preaching to myself. I get my little feelings hurt. I'm acting so tough on this podcast. I get my little feelings hurt if a child doesn't want to come home. But you know what? In the end, I don't let them know it. I try to be a tough girl and say, super, if you go do your traditions, if you don't want to do the box, your grandmother is watching from heaven, but fine. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. But great grandmother, it goes back that far. But I don't do that. You know what? I want to celebrate that because I'm so excited. I've got a daughter-in-law who wants to do some tradition for herself. That's new life is exciting. New traditions are exciting. Sarah's still bitter that we don't do Elf on the Shelf. She missed that. And for some reason, she's like, I am doing Elf on the Shelf with my kids. We are going to do it. And I'm like, good. I will know now that you don't touch the Elf on the Shelf because last year I stopped by a friend's house and I picked up on the Elf on the Shelf. Well, apparently I murdered him. So I've had to learn you don't touch the Elf on the Shelf. So you jump in. You just jump in. I don't know. That's what I would say.
How you said to, even if you're like, dang, like I wish they were coming, just let them know like, hey, we will miss you. You are welcome here. So, tell them, let them know that. But then of course, we're disappointed on the inside, but keep that here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think
Guilt
as
does nothing.
mothers-in-law, it's okay. It's okay to grieve that. Right? I mean, I felt like because like I said, I had created all these traditions and it was just us. So I'm like, hey, we're going to make this a special time. And so we had lots of things. So as they started partnering up, we couldn't continue to do all those things. And if we did, it seemed like it was putting stress on the relationship of my son daughter-in-law because they couldn't please both sides of the family. And even more importantly, what my daughters-in-law wanted to do. Right. So one thing I really encouraged them, at least my oldest daughter-in-law, because they were, they had kids, and I'm like, listen, I want you to have your own traditions. I do, because that's what's going to bring
Mhm.
you guys memories with your kids, and that's what's
Yes.
going to form, right? Yeah, I am loving being a part of this. I love kind of the tradition that I have carried on, taking Elise to go see the Nutcracker, and Jeff comes with
Yes.
me, and we take the boys to go see some little puppet, something Christmas, whatever. But it's okay. And so also, I want to give the mothers-in-law permission. It's okay to grieve. That it is sad. It is sad. Like, we miss this, right? We want to be a part of things.
Mm.
My oldest, his family, the day before Christmas, they make cookies, they watch a movie. One time I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. She's like, yeah, we're just doing it our family though. And like, so grateful that, right? I know. And I'm like, oh yeah, totally. Totally your family. I'm like,
Want
Jeff,
to
they
come
don't want me
anyway.
to make cookies. No,
Listen,
but
girls,
Yeah.
get a bottle of wine, and let's all go to each other's
right.
house, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You
here's
start a
what.
new tradition yourself.
Okay,
For
boom,
real.
Kathy, that's where we are. And so what Jeff and I decided to do was Christmas Eve, like, there were no presents to put under the tree. There were no
Right.
like surprises. We weren't up till midnight wrapping stuff with. So we used to like, I wait until the last minute, put all the kids to bed, and then I'd grab all the haul from, right, wrap them all up. We'd have a glass of wine. We'd have a little hanky panky under the tree. It was all like a very
Hey now.
awesome Christmas. Whoa. Anyway, see, now you got me all distracted with the whoa.
Going to say we were the dirty
Now
grandmas.
I'm like,
Now.
we are the dirty. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, there's y'all know
Uh-oh.
how we got the 3 kids, right? But there was nobody to do that for anymore. And we're kind of like, okay, well, now what? Well, we decided we were going to host a Christmas Eve kind of open house party. Adults,
Yes.
kids, neighborhoods. Like, we will have parents come with their kids in their Christmas pajamas. The moms come for a glass of wine. The kids get some cookies off the table. Like, we'll get empty nester parents that are in the same situation that we are, where they're just kind of like, oh, we don't have anything to do with it. Sometimes it shuts down at 9 o'clock. Sometimes we've gone to like 1 a.m, and we don't care because we don't have to get up in the morning. And it's really been fun. So it's like a new tradition that we have been able to create.
Absolutely. Yeah, love it.
So I
Other than
think,
sitting in pity because you didn't get
yes,
invited
Yes.
somewhere.
Yes.
yes. So we are going to wrap it up here shortly. Is there anything that you guys would like to add about traditions, past, present, future?
I think they're fabulous. I think they do create core memories for the children. I think most children rely on them more than they say and love them more than they say. But when it's time to let them go, have an open hand about it. Let them go,
Yeah.
let them fly, let them start
Yeah.
their own.
Yeah.
At our own.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Y'all coming
And
over?
Come
To your
on.
house.
Y'all coming over to the lake?
Yes, yes. So, in the spirit of making small deposits and building these relationships and connections, I have a challenge for the young mamas with their mothers in law. I challenge y'all to ask your mothers in law what traditions they enjoyed most while raising your husband, right? She still has those memories, and I'm sure, like, I think of Christmas, and just like Kathy, like, I see like the blonde little boys with the blue eyes and hair all askew and running around and in the street without a coat on, and riding their new bike or whatever it is. Ask your mother-in-law what tradition she enjoyed the most, what her favorites were while she was raising her husband, or funny stories. I bet she has some really funny stories. And if you're okay with it, how can you guys work together so she can maybe merge some of those memories with your kids, so she can create some new traditions with her grandkids? That's my challenge to the young
I
mamas
love
today.
that. And one of my favorite traditions that I've heard about between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law is a friend of mine. She's German. Her daughter's American. And they get together every Christmas and they bake for a weekend. Like, her husband watches the kids and she goes to her mother-in-law's house and they bake all these German cookies to share with their friends and family. Just the
I
two
love
of them.
that.
Isn't
I love
that
that.
just the best thing?
That's
So,
awesome.
don't be afraid to start a tradition with your daughter-in-law.
Yes.
That
Look
I
at that.
love that.
Yeah, I
I
love that
love
too.
that
cool.
so much. Okay, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in. Let us know ways that you are winning with traditions this year or sticky points that
Yeah.
you're struggling with. We would love to hear with you. You can find us on all of your listing platforms. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the
You
things.
can email us.
Yep, you can email us, reach out. We would love to hear from you. This is the last episode that is dropping in December, sorry, which means January is coming. We have got some amazing new content for you guys. This first season was all about building relationships and connections. And you're going to be really excited to hear what we have in store for you guys in January. We think it's some really great content for you guys to help you be better daughters-in-law, better mothers-in-law, and just better women all around. So
Thanks for listening.
with that,
Merry
I think
Merry
we should sing
Christmas.
"We Wish You a Merry
Happy
Christmas."
holidays.
Come on.
What?
Jesus
We
loves
wish
y'all.
you a Merry Christmas. Come on. Wish you
wish
a Merry
you a Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Wish you
We
a Merry
wish you a
Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas
and a
and a Happy New Year. I love it.
Bye.
Bye.